Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. My guest today is Nathalie Dorémieux, founder of SearchDitto, a company that helps content creators gain visibility. Nathalie's passion lies in helping small business owners scale their business by creating an online platform that they can be more impactful to their audience. Nathalie is also the host of the Lifestyle Entrepreneur podcast, where she discusses all things related to creating success as a lifestyle entrepreneur. So, on today's episode, Nathalie and I will talk about how you can make a more significant impact and expand your reach by expanding your network, regardless of the borders you happen to be in. So, this is a subject that's very near and dear to me. I love traveling, I love doing this from other locations, and this is going to be a great subject. So, Nathalie, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be so much fun. So listen, you have a great origin story, right? So you're French, but you're also a U.S. citizen. You have lived in both countries, and currently you are in France. And what I find really interesting about that is the type of work that we do, you can really do from anywhere, right? So you are actually doing it in the place that makes most sense for you and your family, and you're able to be successful at it as well. Can you please tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes you so amazing?
Sure. So, yes, I am in France and I've been in business for 16 years. In fact, my husband and I run a family business and we actually don't work with the French market. So, when you say we can actually work from anywhere, we actually can. When we moved back to France in 2005, we basically decided on our lifestyle first. So we picked a city that was sunny in the south of France. We bought a really nice house and we decided that this was going to be the priority for us. And the reason why we moved, from the US back to France is to create that lifestyle. So you can indeed, with the business that we have, you can work from anywhere. We actually don't have any French clients. They are all from the US, the UK, and Australia. So it's totally possible. So what's been amazing during these 16 years is we've done many things, but and we've had quite a few failures or experiences, as we like to call them. But it's really through getting support and not feeling alone. And we'll see that when I talk about my tip, that we realize what our geniuses was, what our strengths were, and where we could really make an impact for people. And that's where it really all came into play, and what we are doing right now, with the business, with SearchDitto, and also the memberships that we built.
You know what's interesting about all this is that if COVID taught us anything, right, is that it taught us how to be more nimble and how to level up our remote meeting abilities, right? Because, like I tell people this all the time, like if I would have met you at a traffic and conversions conference, right, I maybe would have gotten a minute and a half of your time and a business card, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with this format and by doing these remote meetings, no one has to travel. No one has to pack up their bags, get on a flight, and suffer all those indignities, right? We can just sit here and talk for an hour and really get to know each other and have a really warm and engaging conversation that, we can actually learn from each other, right? And that part I find endlessly fascinating, right? Because it allows us to network with people around the world in a format that makes it just really friendly and interesting, and interesting to do that.
Yeah.
How did you feel, when you first moved back to France? I mean, was there like a lonely period where you're like, okay, now I'm far away from my base of operations. How am I going to make this thing work? Like, how
Yeah.
did
So
that?
yeah. So actually, it's that period was about 6 years, to give you an idea. So when we got back, we actually were all in the in the excitement of moving back to France. We hadn't been here in 10 years, and we had never worked in France. So we had no idea about the actual market. We were just students when we left. So what we started to do is we started to want to work with the French market. And that's where we really hit a roadblock, because our culture, the culture that we liked and we felt connected with, was the US. And it took us 6 years where we tried to do things on our own, and we failed. We lost a lot of time, a lot of money, before we realized that this was not, that's not the vision that we had for our business, and this was not going to work, the way we were doing it. So that's where the networking and trying to surround ourselves with people that align with our vision and our values, and that are also doing the things that we want to do. That's really important, to try to project yourself into who you want to be, what you want to do, and try to get access to these people that are already there, so that they can lift you up.
What's interesting about what you just said is, you are not suffering in the French department, right? You speak the language fluently. And it's, so you're not going back to a place where you don't know anything. This isn't like you moved to Croatia or you moved to Thailand, where you are a complete foreigner and there's no chance for you to, there's no clear path to citizenship. There's no even a clear path to figuring out, what your visa status is, right? And what happens is that, okay, so you go back to your home country, but you came back with a totally different mindset, right? And even though, you can claim that you understand the culture. I mean, I know I've gone through this at least twice. I lived in Mexico, I lived in Israel, and I was like, I speak these languages, I got this. And then I realized I got my butt kicked, when I tried to do business in those countries, simply because I was either too immature, or I wasn't, I didn't want to do business in the way that, that they are expecting you to do business in those countries. And it really came down to a point where, something, I was born and raised in the United States. It doesn't matter where I am physically anymore, thanks to all this great technology that we can network. But also, I just chose not to, right? I just chose not to participate in those, in those local markets. And very quickly, I realized I was much happier for it, right? Where I realized, like, okay, if, and this isn't just an economic thing. Like, oh, I want to charge US dollars. I don't want to charge in Mexican pesos, for example. It has nothing to do with that, right? Because you have rich people in Mexico. You have rich people in France. Money's everywhere. But the question is, how do you actually create those opportunities so that you can make this happen for yourself? So with you, it sounds like, even though you are in France, you speak the language fluently, you understand what's going on around you, you chose not to participate in that market, right? Yeah, on a business sense. How has that affected, though, once you came to that realization of, okay, now I'm going to focus my business back to the United States, accent and all. How did that manifest itself? Like, how did that present itself to you and make you guys happier about your decision to remain overseas and still do that?
Yeah, so basically what happened, and again, this comes a lot from Olivier, my husband and business partner, who is really the entrepreneur, I want to say, in the business, in the couple. I just became one. But it really happened when he was doing a lot of research, and there was nothing in French. There was nothing in France. The businesses that were run people seem to be so late compared to what the US was doing. And this is the time where it was looking at the Tony Robbins master series. I don't know if you've seen those, where he was interviewing people. He was interviewing Marie Forleo and all these people that were successful businesses. And this was not at all what was happening in France. We're probably like 5 years behind, right, in France here. So it was really clear, from the beginning, when we started to look outside of what we were doing, because we were in our own bubble. We have our expertise. We are software engineers. We'll develop we'll develop products and people will buy because we're amazing. Well, that didn't happen. So it's really when we started to look outside that we realized, well, there is nothing much going on in France. The action is in the US. And later on it happened in the UK, but it was really in the US. So we were naturally drawn to that because we knew the people, we enjoyed listening to the language, honestly, and we liked the anything is possible. You give a chance to anybody. In France, it's all about who you know or the diplomas or the school that you've been to, and we just hated that mentality. So it was easy for us to say, yeah, let's go there. It's a lot easier.
So now that you're back, right, and you're establishing your business and you are, you solidified that focus of who your ideal avatar is, who you want to talk to, and how you're going to talk to them. Talk to me about that process. Like, how did you start out doing that kind of, remote networking? Did it require a lot of travel back to these markets in order to make that happen? Or was it just, keeping the lines of communication open? How did that come about?
So it really started when I signed up to my first online program. And there was this networking opportunity where before the course was starting, we could reach out to each other and start, making conversations. And I realized that it was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be because I am a shy and introvert person, especially at that time, in 2013. I realized quickly that it is pretty empowering to reach out to people that actually feel the same way as you. Maybe they are as lost as you, or maybe they're asking themselves the same question, but they don't necessarily want to ask, out in public. There is also the whole accountability piece, right? Where when you follow a program together, it's a lot easier to get going and keep the momentum when somebody else is going to ask you how are things going, right? So it's really been at the beginning online, through the emailing and then a bit of social media and things like that. But it really quickly turned into going into events, even signing up to a mastermind to be around other women that were also growing their business, and there being able to address the mindset, the personal stuff, because talking to people is great, but there is a level where you need to be able to find a group where it's a safe space to speak about personal stuff and mindset and family stuff, because it's all interconnected.
So talk to me a little bit about how that felt, being being physically disconnected but still being mentally connected, with this group of entrepreneurs and with these, with the people that that you've been called to serve, but you needed to find a way to reach them. What needed to change in your mindset in order to be able to serve them better?
So what I realized first is that the networking through, online like this without being present totally works for me. Again, I am an introvert, so a room full of people, being to a conference with lots of people where you're told you're going to be able to meet a lot of people, it's like I prefer to meet less people, but really have meaningful conversation and build a real relationship so that I can continue that on, over time. So the piece that I really had to do is to really figure out why I needed to do this, because it was not that comfortable for me to do. It's easier to be just myself in front of the computer, honestly, sometimes, but it's about who do I need? How do I need to show up in order to get support from others, but also support others? This is another thing that I realize is that, at least to me, it is so empowering to be able to not just get, but give, in this networking. People say I'm a connector. I know so many people. And when I talk to somebody, I was just on a coffee talk, virtual coffee talk with an old client who now is a friend. And I just connected her to a person that interviewed me on a podcast because that person is looking for someone. So I always love to connect people. I truly believe that this is This is how you grow. This is how you meet new people. This is how you get new opportunities. You're not going to get opportunities just by sitting in front of your computer.
What would you say then is the biggest action that people need to take in order to make this work? So, when you're talking about being an introvert, at least to me, you're preaching to the choir, right? There's nothing that freezes me more than getting up in a room and having to pass out my card and, and talk to people and introduce myself, because I'm always afraid of, am I interesting enough for them? Or am I, do I really want to speak to these people? Or if I find out that I'm speaking with somebody that is simply not on my level, right? That's like a person, I'll never show it outwards, right? But inside I'm just like, oh God, get me away from this person, right? And then I'm like, okay, like, how do I do this? So, part of the process for me is, like this podcast, right? It makes it a very intimate medium, to be able to get to know people. Plus there's a onboarding process, right? Not everyone gets in, not everyone gets my calendar link, in order to set this up. So I'm doing a little bit of pre-filtering as well, but it also helps me, really level up in terms of the types of types of people that I'm speaking with.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest tip for helping people, to create that network and to get to know other people so that they can, increase the size of that network?
So I think that the way I've done it, I'll just share the way I've done it, because I'm not like an expert, in that area. But what has been working for me and works for me is the natural connection that you're going to make when you get yourself out there. So if you join a community and there are people inside that your community and you start supporting people, they ask a question and you have the answer, right? Or you ask a question and they respond, and it's kind of like this natural connection. I'm not the one that's like actively looking for, oh, I need to go into this because I want to meet that specific person. I would say it's more networking around group of people that have the same interest on a certain topic. So for example, for memberships, which is one of the things that we do in our business, to me, going to or being invited to a Facebook group that talks about membership, that's going to show interest, right? Or maybe I'm going to search for what are communities that exist that I might want to join. So the first is by interest, right? And then it's making the connection based on how people show up, what kind of questions they are asking, and then you start to answer. And then some people have Q&A calls, they have calls when you can hop on Zoom, and they would do Zoom rooms and things like that. So you are in a tighter group and where you can really get to know people. But for that, you have to choose where you want to do this. If you want to do this online, is it on Facebook? Is it LinkedIn groups? It also depends on where you're hanging out, basically.
So talk to me a little bit about memberships, right? Because that's really your jam. And, in terms of creating these smaller groups of like-minded people that talk about, one specific topic that everyone is interested in. How do you help people, figure out which membership is for them, how to establish these groups, and how to make it work for their business?
Great question. My favorite topic. So the way I support people that want to create a membership, so usually the people that come to us for this already have an established business, and they are looking to probably leverage their expertise or doing a bit less one-on-one work. And they're wondering how to create that group, structure without losing the personal connection, the relationship, and without having the members feeling like they are just numbers. So the approach that we have is really to figure out what is the problem that you're trying to solve, right? Because that's the problem that they have that you're trying to solve. And then your membership, your group, whether this is a recurring membership or it's a group coaching program, is the solution to that problem. So you want to find a recurring problem that they have, and you want to provide a recurring solution to the problem that they have. And the key to make it work whether it's a membership, whether it's an online course, so on a finite period, or a group coaching program, is that it has three key elements: the content, which is your expertise. That's where you show up and you teach, what you know. Support. So they need different kind of support if they are stuck, overwhelmed, things like that. And accountability. And that last one is one that is very often overlooked. We say people pay, so they're going to do it. Well, guess what? Most people don't finish online courses and things like that. So it's really the key. So it's unique for every person, but those three elements are the things that we look at.
What's interesting about that accountability? That's one of the reasons why I've been so pessimistic about creating online courses, because I know of all of them that I have paid for whatever reason. I took my credit card out and paid for them. I don't think I finished not one. And what happens is that, there is this accountability. There is this, okay, maybe I am going to get some good information out of it. But then there's the taking action part, right? You lose focus, you move on to the next shiny object. There are a lot of things there that can distract you, right? And usually what I tell people is like, look, don't do more than one program at a time, first of all, right? And no matter how small, whether the program costs you $10,000 or $10, right? It doesn't matter. Do one at a time, at least. And what happens is, being able to find that community that can actually help you along and figure out the ins and outs of what you need to do to get from a definitive start to a definitive end. That's really, like the most important part, right? Your course and your membership should be aimed at delivering a result, not just, being able to show that, hey, I'm part of this club. What kind of software or what kind of like tools do you recommend people use to set up some of this stuff? What are some of your favorites that you help people set up?
So I can share with you the process that I go through when people ask me that question about what tool do you use, and I tell them it depends. Probably the number one mistake that people make when they want to create an online course or a membership, and they start by wanting to choose the tool. The tool is just the tool to make it happen. Until you've clearly defined what is the structure, is the content going to be dripped? Do I want progress tracking? Do I want to reward them with points where they can redeem content with it? Until you've identified the experience that you want to create, there is no point talking about tools. So there is not one tool that is great. It happens that what we do and the people that come to us want to create those unique experiences because they really want to get people results, like you said. So there needs to be a roadmap to the course so that they can see they are at a specific stage and they can stay focused in the step that they are in. So what we build is quite specific, and for that requires WordPress. And then a WordPress plugin, the one we use most of the time is called Access Ally. But that's for this type of membership. Now, there are people that are perfectly happy with Kajabi or any other platform. It really depends on the solution that you're building for these people. And then you pick the tool to make it happen.
Amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Nathalie, can you please let everyone know how they can find you online and how they can reach out to you directly if they want to learn more?
Sure. So online, you can find me at nathaliedorémieux.com, which is on the screen right now for those watching. You can also find us at SearchDitto.com. This is our tool for content creators to leverage your content. And we also have themembershiplab.com, which is all about helping you build your online presence and online platforms.
Great. I'll make sure to have all of those links in the show notes here. This has been an excellent conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time, breaking this down and really helping to enlighten us on, how this stuff works and how you can really make it happen for yourself whether you're still in your home country or you want to tour around and, develop a new lifestyle for you and your family. I think both are possible. And, it just depends on which stage, you happen to be and, your desire to make that happen.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for making that happen.
Thank you.
Nathalie, thank you so much for joining me. This has
Thank
been a
you
lot
so
of fun.
Thank you so much for having